Shocking findings about what caused a 16-year-old teenage boy in South Carolina to collapse and die. Medical investigators now say it was because he drank too much caffeine. Davis Allen Kripe collapsed at school last month and passed away later. The coroner says the teen had consumed an energy drink, a large Diet Mountain Dew, and a McDonald's cafe latte within a 2-hour time period, and that led to a caffeine-induced cardiac event.
I stand before you as a broken-hearted father and hope that something good can come from this. Parents, please talk to your kids about the dangers of these energy drinks.
But what we want to do here today is make people understand that these drinks, this amount of caffeine, how it's ingested, can have dire consequences. And that's what happened in this case.
The coroner says Davis Kripe had been healthy. He did not use alcohol. He didn't use drugs. He had no underlying medical issues that might have been a factor. We want to understand how this could happen. Joining us is Dr. Devi an associate professor at the New York University School of Medicine. Joining me via Skype. Dr. Devi, this is so heartbreaking, and I think so many people are probably going to hear this and say, wait, what do I need to know? I'm a caffeine addict. I drink lots of these, energy drinks or 4 lattes a day. Help us get an idea of just how much caffeine was in what this young man consumed in the 2 hours preceding his death.
So it's hard to tell for some of us. I mean, most cups of coffee have about 100 milligrams of caffeine in them, but there's a huge range depending on how the coffee is made. Sodas can have about 50 milligrams or more, and then energy drinks, there's a huge variability. So the FDA says that, adults should have less than 400 milligrams of caffeine per day, but with these energy drinks and some of these caffeinated drinks, they may even take you above that. Now, the reason that caffeine matters is because, there are benefits. It makes us more alert, and most people like to have some caffeine in the morning, but it can affect the heart. So the heart is a pump, and it has an electrical system that tells it when to pump. Just like your TV, you press the remote control to turn it on, and then the TV gets a signal and turns on. In the same way, the heart has an electrical system that tells it when to beat, but caffeine interferes with that. Now, for most of us, it's not much of an issue. Sometimes you might feel, if you have too much caffeine, that you're getting a little jittery or your heart is racing. Maybe you might feel like your heart skips a beat, but it doesn't quite cross the threshold to cause a problem. Now, for a kid,
that's what I was going to ask you, Dr. Devi. I'm looking at these 3. We have the beverages here. Some people might consume all of this in a day, but to consume it in a 2-hour period, that just makes my heart have a palpitation or two. Is it different for a teen, somebody that's not, finished their growth spurt?
Well, it's hard to say for sure. I mean, we assume so, but the way that you can normally tell is, let's say with any other drug, we actually give it to people, right, to see what the side effects are and monitor them in the study. But because caffeine is so readily available, nobody does those studies, and we think it's generally unethical to do these studies on kids. So it's hard to know exactly what a kid can tolerate. But for the most part, we actually tell kids not to have that because of their growth.
Yeah, I mean, for as long as I remember, we were told, don't drink it, it'll stunt your growth. But I see kids drinking coffee and going to, the coffee shops and Starbucks and what have you all the time now. Is the common practice that it's okay for kids to have caffeine?
No, that's not the common practice, but I think it is hard for parents to try to watch these things. And parents are much more concerned probably with, between drugs, alcohol, and smoking. Caffeine kind of takes sort of a back seat to a lot of those things, but we have to be careful about the amount of caffeine. We're not even talking about tea. That also has caffeine. And some of these energy drinks, they have caffeine, but they also have other stimulants in them that are unregulated. Some of these things that kids
How concerned are you about these energy drinks, doctor?
I'm very concerned about the energy drinks for both kids and for adults because they're not regulated as closely, some of these supplements and some of the things that kids use before they go to work out at a gym, for example. And a lot of people use these energy drinks because they want to play sports, they want to do other things, and some of them are marketed as though they're healthier, will help you to function better. So, for a lot of reasons, people consume these things and they might not realize all of the risks. Now, this is very rare what happened to this this unfortunate situation to this child, but it is very common for people to get sort of that heart racing feeling or palpitations, or sort of feel like maybe their heart skipped a beat. So for people at home who have those symptoms, I would say it's probably better to cut down on the caffeine. Now,
I was getting those symptoms after drinking a cup of coffee a day. Last year, I switched from coffee to tea. Tea doesn't have the same effect on me. It wakes me up, but it doesn't make me feel like my heart's racing. This is a terribly sad situation. We wanted to talk about it because I think people are going to panic and think, you know, could this happen to me? Just be careful. I think the advice is what I'm getting from you, Dr. Devi. Dr. Devi Nampion-Rampal, thank you so much for joining us today and walking us through that.